Hello, everybody. My name is True Pettigrew, founder and CEO of True Access, and welcome to Millennials Revealed Blab series. We're here every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, that schedule was established in advance of the national championship game tonight. So we are going to make this quick and to the point. But before I just want to go ahead and explain that this segment, Millennials Revealed, is really about exploring topics and issues that are important and relevant to the millennial generation in an effort to help them understand how to navigate their waters of success on their terms and achieve their dreams, and provide them with insight and information that could help them really achieve success based on the way that they define it. And also to help any organization that's looking to connect with millennials in a real and meaningful way, really give them a peek behind the curtain to understand the millennial mindset and the attitudes, influences, opinions of the things that really matter to them most and how they see the world. So that's what Millennials Revealed is all about. And tonight's topic is Greek life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And we want to talk about the pros and cons of Greek life. So I can't think of anybody better to talk about Greek life than my man, my brother, one of the most amazing speakers that I know, not just a motivational speaker, but an inspirational speaker. And he will leave you wanting to do more than you ever thought you could do after you hear this man put words together. He is the CEO and founder of ForCollegeForLife. My brother, my mellow, Mr. Casey Cornelius. Round of applause, Mr. Casey Cornelius, Mr. Casey Cornelius.
Nicest introduction I've had in a long time. And that comes from somebody who's not only seen me speak, but who's also on that For Life roster as well. So thank you.
Yes. I am a member of the team, man. Member of the team.
Right.
So thank you for being on this Blab. Casey, is there anything else? Well, I know that you are Greek.
Yes, sir.
And so is there anything else you want to add to the introduction that I provided? Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. This is my first Blab. Everyone should know this is my first Blab. So if I get anything wrong, just let me know. Sure, True will keep me in line with it. But no, it's a pleasure to join you tonight. I said to True offline before that I'm really in a Greek state of mind right now. So I was a Greek member as an undergraduate, Pi Kappa Phi fraternity at the University of Toledo. I can tell you that none of my family members were Greek. In fact, it was really sort of a decision that I thought about quite a bit as I was thinking about joining or not joining, and I waited until my sophomore year of college. I wasn't one of the students who rushed or recruited right away in their first semester or their first year, but I can tell you that since that moment, being Greek, being a Pi Cap, has been a huge influence on my life. And some of the
what's your fraternity again?
Pi Kappa Phi.
Okay.
Pi Kappa Phi. And I said this weekend. I was actually at a Pi Kappa Phi event in Charlotte, and I actually said that being Greek, being a Pi Cap, and learning from some of the greatest men I've known in my life has been so instrumental and influential in my life. So I'm really in a Greek mindset right now, and I'm so excited to have this conversation tonight. I do recognize, as the title suggests, that there's good, there's bad, and there's some ugly, and those are very real issues. I think I probably will always, as will be illustrated tonight, always fall on the good side as opposed to the bad or the ugly, but I'm certainly going to give you as honest answers as I can tonight, and I hope that our conversation leads in really enlightening and insightful directions, and I'm sure it will with you at the host. So thank you for having me.
No, man, absolutely, my pleasure. So let's talk about it. You mentioned that none of your family members were Greek, and you decided to pledge. Now, look, I'm not Greek. I've never pledged. So if I get any of the phrasing or terminology wrong, please forgive me. Do not mean to offend. No. But so what was it that really prompted you to pledge? Where did that influence come from for you? What drove that decision for you?
Sure. So I should give just a little bit of context and a little bit of backstory. I was not the most stellar high school student in the world. I graduated high school with a 2.1 GPA.
Nice, nice.
My mom probably doesn't feel that way, that it was nice. But I was one of those people who got the college isn't for everyone talk from their guidance counselor. And that really sort of inspired me in an odd way. I was one who, they give you the diploma case when you walk across the stage, and I had to look to make sure that there's actually I wasn't sure. I was rejected to every college I applied to. I was allowed into the University of Toledo in a 1-semester probation, and I didn't know very much about college. Really, the only 2 things that I knew for sure was that college is hard, and that if you mess up, they kick you out. Those are really the only things that I came, in my backpack equipped to know as I entered higher education.
And this is the man who founded ForCollegeForLife, ladies and gentlemen. Huh?
Man,
talk about tapping into your greatness. I love it.
I want to rip off all the Band-Aids at the beginning, right? No illusions. So my first semester, and I tell this story, I feel so bad. My first semester, I was roomed with a guy who was his high school's valedictorian, and let's just say I don't know that his trajectory in college ended up the same way as mine, but my first year in college, I didn't know very much, and I was kind of figuring it out on the fly in terms of effort level, matched with fun and extracurriculars and all those other kind of things. So in my first year, I really tried to find that balance. And I was recruited by fraternities, and I kind of held it off.
So help me understand, why do you think so? Let's pause right there for a second and help me understand that process. Walk me through that process.
Sure.
So what is it about? What is it about you, if you know, or what is it now that you are, a member? You've been a member of a fraternity for years, and I'm sure you recruited others after you got on board. What are you looking for when you are recruiting somebody? Like, hey, that guy's good looking. Hey, he's tall. He's athletic. He's funny. He gets the party started. I know it's a stereotype. Forgive me, but like, what is it that you're looking for when you're recruiting somebody?
I would have recruited you. So I do want to say this real quick. So in my second year, I became a resident advisor at my university, and on the across the university, there was 7 members of Pi Kappa Phi, 7 members of Pi Kappa Phi on the staff, and I was recruited every day. And it really became a no-brainer. These were the guys that I really looked up to. I knew that they had it together. It was very clear to me at that point that everything had come in line. What's interesting about your question is that even without knowing it, I became in an executive position with my fraternity where I was in charge of recruitment. So those are the things that I had to think about quite a bit. So the things that I really look for, and I think that are important to look for as well, is you want people who could communicate effectively. You wanted people who could get along with the other guys in the chapter. We looked at things, and just for full transparency, people who were not going to be risk management issues. People that we could be pretty certain weren't going to paint us in a bad way. That's always kind of a crapshoot, to be totally honest with you. I was always a big proponent of people who had a GPA either coming out of high school or at college that was fairly well established. So if you were walking in the door with a 1.5 GPA, I probably would have told you, focus on those things first, because obviously, being in a fraternity, being in a sorority is going to take away some of the time from your studies and stuff like that. So so to have that balance to start with.
Well, and that's one of the things, if I could chime in real quick, that's one of the things that I hear from people. And the reason that we're having this conversation, right, is, I do a lot of work with millennials. And yes. So a lot of the young people that I talk to, they're kind of back and forth, yes. on whether they should join a fraternity or a sorority or not. And some of the, the perspectives are that, hey, I am in college to learn. I'm there to go to school. I'm not there to party. All that's going to do is be a distraction. What do you say to that?
Well, I say that first, if you're starting with that mindset, that's outstanding. And this is going to sound a little contradictory to what the stereotypes typically are of Greek life fraternities and sororities, that, that it's a mindless pursuit and it's about the drinking and partying and whatnot. But here's what I would say. Whether there's 20 people in that chapter or 200 people in that chapter, you're going to be surrounded by so many other people who are in the same position you are, that are at college trying to do their very best. Yeah, there's going to be bad apples in any group. It doesn't really matter whether it's a floor in your residence hall or your fraternity or sorority or athletic team or whatever. There's going to be some bad apples, but you're also going to meet people who are probably of the same major, taking the same classes. You have a built-in network of people that you can study with, pick their brains, maybe people who've taken the class in the past, or they're a year past you in terms of your major, and can help kind of guide you in that way too. So the positives, in my opinion, even from an academic standpoint, will always outweigh the negatives. There's a tremendous and profound sense of community, and not just camaraderie, but also related to your academic pursuits as well. So I think that sometimes that doesn't get enough credit, but many fraternities, many sororities were truly founded with scholarship as being a hallmark. And I think that it's overlooked. One of the great misnomers about the Greek system is that it's anti-intellectual, and I mean it's true. I mean, we're talking good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's an amazing fact: if you research at any college or university that has a Greek system, research this. Look at the GPA of Greek members, fraternity, sorority, all Greek GPA. It's typically higher, if not on level with non-Greeks. So the idea somehow that Greek life is anti-intellectual is really kind of odd in my mind, because if you hold up Greek members to everybody else, they're doing as well, if not better. So there's got to be something.
Well, I read a statistic that all but 3 of our U.S. presidents have been Greek. Right. And there's a large, obviously not obviously, but the statistics go on to show that there's a significant number of CEOs that are Greek. And so, I mean, there's some statistics that reinforce what you're suggesting. If I could just interject for a second, I don't know if you see it in the chat room there. Our man Casey Special K directed a question towards you. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I did not.
Okay. Well, his question is, do Greek organizations still practice their mission, the founding purpose, or is it just theory now?
Well, Quasi, it's a great question, man. So this weekend, again, I was at a leadership event for my fraternity, Pi Cap College, for chapter officers. So there were chapter leaders from, at this particular event, 40 different schools. So there were about 500 men at this event. And that very issue was talked about over and over and over again, not just in my keynote session, but also by a variety of other leaders within the fraternity, going back to the idea of the original mission. And for us, and every organization has a creed, has something that they believe in. And one of the things that I emphasized was that the creed of my fraternity, and the creed or mission statements, or however you want to look at it, of other fraternities and sororities as well, really gives you the context of your daily life, like the things that you practice. So for ours, and these are not unique characteristics or unique habits by any stretch of the imagination, but it really breaks down to things like leadership and service and sacrifice and lifelong learning and respect and action.
Now, I'm just gonna stop you there, Case.
Yes, sir.
And are those things. So to go back to Quasi's question, and TJ made a good point, and he's like, but is that realistic to expect today's students to subscribe to the same mission that people subscribed to 100 years ago? Great point. But so you're saying that you believe, though, that it is still practice, and it's not just lip service. It's not just words on a piece of paper. You believe
I would say that it's practiced to a great extent. I think that the difference is, and one of the challenges that all Greek societies face, is the extent to which the stigmas associated with anti-intellectualism, drinking, hazing, all that other kind of stuff seem to overshadow it. So, for example, if service is one of the core ethics of a Greek organization, they do so in a lot of ways, and one of them is philanthropies, right? So the philanthropies of Greek organizations, whether they're homegrown or ones that they have attached themselves to international, the amount of donated hours and service and all that other kind of stuff is profound, is amazing. And you know,
and that's the thing, right? I think it's the, you know, supporting a cause or raising money for a foundation or an organization. That's not the newsworthy stuff. That's not the stuff that can be sensationalized in the media. It's, you know, I read another stat that since 1975, I believe, and this isn't my, you know, this is data that I'm gathering, is that there has been a hazing related death, at least one every year since 1975. And
absolutely,
that's the stuff that's going to make the news. You know, if there's been some sort of mistreatment of women or, you know, just, you know, that type of stuff is the stuff that's going to make the news. Yeah. I think Austin wants to join the Blab. Yeah, buddy. Oh, go hide. He loves that game. Anytime one of us comes home, he has to hide from us.
I love it. I love it.
So
no, to answer your question, those things, you're absolutely right, are always going to make the news, and they should. You know, let's not get it mistaken. They should always make the news. But here's the interesting thing to me. Like you say, the good stuff is rarely newsworthy, even though it should be. But even when the good stuff is newsworthy, it's still being painted with a really negative and stereotypical image. And I'll give you an example. There was a story that kind of went viral right around Christmas time, just a month ago, about a fraternity who a young lady who was battling cancer was able to see into their window. And they did a lot of stuff to encourage her. They put messages out, all this really, really great positive stuff that was included within the article, right?
Right.
But the article was titled and began with, "Little girl could see into frat brother's window." You know what I'm saying? So even
yeah. Wow. Yeah.
doing the things that we would love to put forward, even the things that we would go, wow, you know, I wish more college men or college women did these kind of things. It still has to be sliced with this frat brother idea, this bro idea, you know, even when they're doing the good stuff. So I think that yeah, all of those negative aspects do apply, but we overlook this mountain of good. And by the way, I said that to our guys this weekend, you know, in full disclosure. Right. That you carry the burden of a lot of bad choices that people who came before you, that your peers are making as well. You carry with you those burdens, but it's your job then to every day exceed the expectations of those around you and surpass them and make it so that it's like, oh, not all fraternity men, not all sorority women live up to that stereotype.
Well, I think it's important for, as I talk to, and as we all talk to young millennial students that are interested in participating or joining in fraternities or sororities, is I think it's important to understand the inheritance that comes with that, right? So to minimize getting defensive or offended, you know, you have to understand that. And I don't know if that's part of the process, if you teach that and, you know, you train that, but I think it's important to understand, much like, and you and I have had a little bit of conversation about this. I do a lot of work with my local law enforcement, and it's the same conversation. Hey, there's an inheritance that comes with that uniform. You may not be the responsible party for a lot of the things that are taking place, the malicious things, the unjust things that we're seeing in the media and in the news. But you, once you decided that is the organization that you want to participate in, you have now gained an inheritance that comes with that. Now, before I ask this next question,
just 1 second.
I want to extend the invitation for Casey and TJ to please hit that open seat button, because these two guys are going back and forth and making some really good points. And I see someone from Sigma Gamma Rho has just joined, Miss Jarrett, and I would welcome the sorority perspective. So if you're out there bold enough, please hit the hot seat button and join in on the conversation. And I want to let you make your point, Casey, but I now have another question that I want to ask you that we're about to heat things up with this next question. So you know I love you like a brother, man. So I'm not trying to I'm trying to stir some stuff up, to be honest with you. So 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 don't judge me on my questions.
Sure. So
let me ask the question, or you're going to make? Okay, go ahead.
Let me make that real quick point about the idea of the burden. I think that one of the things that is truly complicated about the Greek experience is that there is a stereotype, that there is a burden. And I say this when I work with Greek students across the country. I say, for us, we understand the differences between one Greek letter organization and another. And, maybe the perceptions of, their roles on campus, or their particular stereotypes from one organization to another. But here's the thing: to non-Greeks, and this is really, really important for Greek members to hear, to non-Greeks, they don't know the difference and they don't care. What they know is that we wear funny looking letters on our chest that they can't really tell apart from one to another, and that we talk about rituals and we talk about secrecy. Mm-hmm. Now, rituals and secrecy are important aspects of all of these organizations, but it plays into, we have to be honest about this. It plays into the skepticism and the stigma that goes along with things as well. So, I'm not expert enough. TJ Sullivan is far more expert in this than I am. I'm not expert on how you can break down those barriers and still maintain a level of privacy and legacy over time with rituals and with tradition and everything like that. I don't know how to do that, but that is certainly a burden that must be worn every time someone puts their letters on. But here's the important thing, and I want to say this real quick. You can't only, I heard this quote this weekend, it was great. You can't only wear your letters on Thursday or Friday night when you want to have a good time, but then hide them on Monday when you put out your resume.
Right.
Either be in or not. So I think that's an important way to frame the discussion as well.
Yeah, TJ just posted an interesting stat, and I read that earlier myself. Approximately 9 million students and alumni members of fraternities and sororities in North America. So 9 million, that's a huge number, right? Huge. Now, and where I saw that same information, I also saw that in the 80s, the membership for Greek life was booming, and it dropped off significantly in the 90s. Yep. Right. And now I think since 2000, it's increased, and somebody like a TJ or a Greek Ladders, Peter from Greek Ladders, somebody could probably correct me on this, but I think it's increased about 3% per year since 2000 over the last, 10 to 15 years. And how much of that do you think has to do with the millennial generation now, populating our colleges and universities, and millennials, Greek life aside, right? But I see some synergies with how this generation views the world. Very collaborative, seeking community, civic minded, want to do good, really want to change the world. So do you think that this generation is going to be a plus for really, I don't know if restoring is the right word, because it's not like it's broken and needs to be fixed or anything. But do you think that millennials are good news for Greek life, and based on the millennial mindset?
True. I got to be honest with you. I've never thought about it within that context, but connecting those dots makes a whole lot of sense. In my academic background, I'm a trained sociologist, and I'm a big believer that we seek community, whether it's in college or in our daily lives. We seek to connect with others in meaningful ways. And I think that the 21st century sorority or fraternity provides an outlet or an opportunity for the millennial student to say, this is something that I can be a part of, something that I believe in. And this, your book talks about this quite a bit. Millennials are far more likely to connect with things that they believe in, and they believe in and the philanthropy of. That's why they choose to buy some products and not buy others, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's a logical a connection to be made, and I do think that the millennial generation is good for Greek life in a lot of ways. Now, one of the things that is interesting to me is that because of the rise of mediated interaction through our cell phones and tablets and all this other kind of stuff, I think that sometimes the necessity of building community has decreased. So I think that Greek life is sort of fighting that as well. You know, in the 80s or 90s, when people couldn't just text all their friends at one time,
Right.
Blab or Facebook or whatever, they had to come together in a central place.
Good point.
Not necessarily the case, but they're still choosing to.
Now, Greek Ladders mentions that millennials seem to be hungrier to make a difference, both as individuals and via group. And I would agree with that 100%. Something that I also know about millennials is that they are big on transparency.
Yes.
Right. And the Greek lifestyle really, it's known to be a secret society, right? Very private, very secret. Do you think that in your experience, I don't know how much experience you've had with, and you mentioned you haven't really analyzed it from a generational perspective that much, but do you think that that could potentially be a turnoff? Because I know it's a turnoff for a lot of people, right? That it's all this secret society. Like, do you think it's kind of a two-part question, and I want to lead to the next question where we'll heat things up a little bit, is do you think that is a potential negative for millennials? And what do you say to people who say that Greek life is divisive because it is really this secret society, this secret lifestyle, this very elitist, almost like the doorman at an LA club? I'll take you, but not you. I'll take you, but not you. You know what I mean? Very, very divisive. And then divisive also from a cultural standpoint. And there's some things I want to touch on that we've seen in the media where there is kind of the white fraternities and then the black fraternities and then the Asian fraternities. So does it promote divisiveness?
Yeah. So, I mean, to your first question, is the secretness of Greek organizations a potential turnoff? And I think the answer is maybe so. I think that the more I'm thinking about this from the pro-Greek side, the more that sororities and fraternities can get ahead of that and be as transparent as possible while still maintaining adherence to their principles that set them apart from everybody else, I think that they're going to be better off for doing it. And let me give you an example from my fraternity. And I know I'm relying a lot on my own experience, but from my fraternity's perspective, we have an amazing philanthropy. It's called the Ability Experience, and it works to raise awareness and support people with disabilities. And we do some truly amazing things through the Ability Experience. And to me, that's really an outward expression of who we are as a fraternity. We didn't partner with somebody else in order to do that. We created organically, right? So that's the outward experience of who we are. But I think that sometimes, again, the idea that there are going to be some hidden elements, there are going to be some closed doors. I think that's always probably going to be part of Greek life. I can't imagine a world in which that's not true. Now the second part of your question is really, really important to me. And that is, does it create barriers and boundaries amongst groups? And I think that unfortunately, the evolution of the Greek system has done that. It has done it by race, it has done it by ethnicity, it has done it in some ways by social class, those who have a little bit more wealth versus those who are more working class. But what I would say is, in the evolution of Greek life that I have experienced, that I've seen over the last 15 years, let's just say, it's gotten far better.
Okay.
Now it doesn't mean that it's as multicultural as it should be, and I don't think that it's as racially and ethnically diverse or social class diverse as it could be, but I think it's far better. And I think a lot of it, interestingly, it goes back to that idea of generational relations as well. We know that millennial generations are far more multicultural in their mindsets than
and just in numbers, right? And just the numbers prove it out. And the way that they think, the way that they approach, very culturally curious, they embrace cultural diversity. And so,
another important element of this as well is in terms of the gay and lesbian and bisexual and transgender experience as well. We are seeing for people of different backgrounds in terms of their sexual orientations, or I know that's not the perfect term, but sexual identities than ever before. So I think that there's a whole lot of growth that's going on, and that's only a positive thing.
Got you. Well, we've had a bold participant join in on the hot seat. Hello, Tara. How are you?
Good, True. How are you?
I'm doing good. Tara, Casey, Tara.
Hi, Casey.
Now, Kara, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you? And I know you happen to be part of a sorority, and we just got to the part about do fraternities and sororities promote divisiveness, right? Because there are white fraternities, and then there are black fraternities and sororities. And so what are well, I'll let you do an intro and talk a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, and the sorority that you're a part of. And then if you don't mind addressing that divisiveness question for us.
Okay. My name is Tara Cooper. I am a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. We are a part of the National Pan-Hellenic Council, one of 9 predominantly and historically Black fraternities and sororities. I am originally from Pennsylvania. I joined my organization at a school in Pennsylvania. And as far as the divisiveness, I see that. I've seen that from day one. And I think a lot of it has to do with the different universities and how they handle Greek life. You have different Greek councils with different regulations, different rules, different processes. And then once I moved down here to North Carolina, and I'm in an area now where you have several HBCUs, and I see a vast difference between Greek life at HBCUs and Greek life at a PWI. And so I think that there is. Can you touch on some of those differences really briefly? Not too extensive, but what do you see as some of the differences? I see that just from my experience, going to a predominantly white campus, and granted, I am 22 years in. Oh, hi,
cutie. Me or Austin?
Austin. You too, but Austin. He just joined us. Yeah. So, the member organizations of the NPHC, we had a very close bond, a close connection. We work very well together. I see sometimes when you look at organizations or chapters on HBCUs, there's a little bit more of a competition for members and who's the best on campus and who does this the best. And I see that a little bit more than I did from a PWI campus.
Okay, be more. I see you chomping at the bit. So Tara, I want to allow you to finish your comment and your point. But young Mr. Moore is chomping at the bit to chime in. But I want to be respectful, be more, and let Kara finish her point. Tara, I'm sorry, finish her point, and then you can jump in.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like you said, millennials are more diverse than my age range 20 years ago when we became members of organizations. And I do see also, on the flip side, I see from a PWI campus standpoint, organizations from different councils doing things together, whether it's role competitions, step shows, community service, things like that. I do see that happening more now than I ever did before. So,
okay.
Although I do still see some divisiveness, I see where things are trying to change a little bit.
Okay. All right. That's good. And I do want to explore some more of those cultural nuances. But before I dive into that, Mr. Moore, is that?
How you guys doing?
Why don't you guys give a brief introduction for yourself, sir? Name, where you're from, and I don't believe you're Greek, but if
No.
Okay.
I'm not. Okay, so good evening. This is a great talk, by the way. And I love the fact that you've got, so many different perspectives in the talk. You got cultural, gender, it's all there. And then you've got this whole other conversation happening in the chat below, which is just awesome. So, this is, I
hate to keep up with that as this is going on.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I know.
I was hesitant to join in because I have not pledged a Greek letter organization. But I think that I may have a little to contribute. And the thing that made me press the button, and I'm glad you joined in, Tara, also, but the thing that made me press the button was when we talked about secrecy and secrets and things like that. Now, I am not a member of a Greek letter organization. They are clearly not secret societies because we all know about them, correct? Right. There are organizations with secrets, and organizations can maintain their secrets and still be very public. And that's that's just an important distinction. And I say this from a perspective because I'm a member of a Masonic organization. We have the same thing, very old organization with an old charter, but with principles that are very relevant today. And we have our secrets, but we still are a very public organization with a lot of service involved. So I just wanted to, that's the reason I pushed the button. But since I did push the button, and then Tara joined in, and she talked about PWIs versus HBCU, so I'm so glad I'm here now.
Okay.
I attended an HBCU and a PWI, okay, in that order. And I'm a dad, and I've got 3 kids, 2 of which are very close in age. And Tara, what you said is to me, in my opinion and history, it's accurate, right? So at a PWI, where the minority of Black folks who are not participating in an even smaller minority, which are those who would pledge, are probably less likely to compete because it's almost like my kids. I have 2 boys that are so close in age that sometimes they act so crazy. I have to be the bigger enemy, causing them to fuse together and work hard to defeat that. And it's the same there. I mean, you guys are at a PWI. I mean, the situation there is such that cooperation is it's the magic word. At an HBCU, though, I'll say there is definitely that, in my experience, there is that competitive side of things. But I also find that competition breeds closeness as those competitors age. So those who were maybe competing in 20 years ago when they pledged are now 20 years down the line very respectful of each other and very good friends, and almost look back on their competition like in a very fond way. So I've seen that working that way, and I'm sure there's other perspectives. But I just wanted to join in and say hello. Thank you so much for the talk, and give you my couple bits of insight.
No, we appreciate it, brother. Really do. So if anybody else wants to join in, please feel free to click the button or let me know in the chat room, and I'll make sure that we give you an opportunity to join in. Now, Tara, one of the things I want to ask you, and then I'll get your perspective on this as well, Casey, is we talked about some of the cultural differences, right, from how the behaviors and the expectations that exist with the fraternities and sororities. What about some of the gender differences, Tara, that you think may exist between a fraternity versus a sorority? Do you think there are some major behavioral differences, expectations that exist in a sorority that does not exist? That same behavior, expectation, or processes don't exist in a fraternity? Is there more hazing? Like, look, I know hazing is outlawed. It's not, but for my limited language, right? Mm-hmm. Is there more hazing in sororities than fraternities? Less in sororities than fraternities? And I know you might have to give your politically correct response. There is absolutely no hazing whatsoever in any fraternity or sorority
organization. But I'm old school as well. So I have seen a lot over, before hazing became, outlawed and illegal. And, I saw through various organizations when I was on campus, even before I ever became Greek. So I think that processes, even now, I think processes are very different because of gender. I think the expectation of some members in organizations, older members who came in a certain way, they have an expectation. And I think those expectations are stronger in the fraternities than they are sororities. I think that in sororities, we tend to just kind of take it, take you as you are. And, we have that expectation beforehand. And so when you're invited to become a member, those expectations are known. But I think that, there's old school members that have other expectations. Is it right? Not anymore. It's not. But,
But so you're not saying, so from a gender standpoint, it's not more or less in a sorority.
I don't know if it's necessarily more or less from a gender. I just think it might be a little different in what it looks like.
Okay. Now, from a cultural standpoint, do you think it's more or less? Do you think it's more of a, I know tradition may not be the right word, but from a behavioral standpoint, do you, and well, I'll shift it to you, Casey. Do you think it occurs more in fraternities than sororities? And do you have a perspective on how that breaks down culturally, and let's say white fraternities and sororities versus other cultural fraternities and sororities?
Yeah, I mean, this is the third rail of discussing Greek life, right? Yep. And I'm sure Tara feels the same sort of tension when we talk about these things. I will say this: the evolution of how we talk about these things proactively has been profound over the last 10, 20, 30 years, right? So it used to be, this is just part of it, don't talk about it. And then there became a much larger discussion over time about the inherent problems of alcohol use, drug use, hazing, etc. And now Greek organizations, fraternities, sororities, based on race, ethnicity, whatever, talk proactively about risk management in ways that they never did 10 or 15 years ago. And there are some really big, true leaders in that respect. Kim Novak, TJ Sullivan, Lori Hart, people like that who have spent their careers talking about being proactive in terms of risk management.
TJ needs to hit the hot seat button, man. I want to hear from TJ. I see his comments on fire. He's on fire over in the comments section.
Love TJ. No, and what I would say is this. The idea of hazing, the idea of any sort of physical, mental, hurdle that a new member might have to reach to get into an organization or whatever is not, and I say this very cautiously because I know that this is, again, the third rail, is not exclusive to fraternities and sororities. It happens in all group dynamics where there is a hurdle to which someone has to get in. It happens in sports teams. It happens in bands. It happens in high school. It happens when groups of people get together and sort of, for lack of a better term, police themselves.
Well, yeah, but I guess Greeks, you guys just get all the credit for it.
No, and I want to be very clear about that. Does not make it right. Does not make it good. But it does in some way make it human. Now, what I would say is the more that collectively Greek life has learned about the terrible nature of hazing, the terrible nature of alcohol and drugs and so forth, what I would say is it is profoundly better. It is not perfect. It may never be perfect, but I know for certain lives have been saved, both in terms of being alive today and also injury to life have been saved because of the hard work of people who have stood up and said, this is not acceptable and this is not who we're going to be.
Okay. All right. Tara, I have a question for you. I received a couple of emails from some friends of mine who knew about this Blab, were not able to participate, baby boomers. And I want in, Casey, you can chime in, and this is specific. These comments were from two African-American women, but I would like your perspective, Casey, as through the lens through which you see this as well.
Sure.
But so Tara, their sentiment was when they were coming up, when they were coming of age, during the baby boomers, and even felt that way about their kids, and that it didn't necessarily pan out that way. They said, their daughters went on to pledge sororities. But they believe that, why would an African-American, why would someone Black want to be Greek? Don't we have enough problems as African-Americans? Shouldn't we focus on resolving the issues that are affecting us as Black Americans in this country. And they just couldn't get their heads wrapped around being an African American and promoting wanting to be Greek. Now, I don't once again, I'm not Greek, so I can't, I don't really have the level of understanding behind that you would. But what do you say to a baby boomer parent who has a millennial child right now who is interested in pledging a sorority, who is interested in pledging with your sorority, but has that mindset? What do you say to that baby boomer parent?
Well, I'd say, we're not much different than any other type of organization that someone joins. We do our philanthropy, and that's really where, especially now, I know that's something that we really look at when we look at members. Are you community service oriented? Because that's what we were built on. So, my suggestion to one of those parents would be to just learn about what we do. Don't think about Greek letters. Think about the overall umbrella of what we do and how we do affect the community and how we do affect the problems that African Americans face every day. We do a lot of different things, whether it's health related or educational or just civic programs. So, everybody thinks of Greek letter organizations and they immediately think of Animal House or, things like that. And that's not the reality. Although in some instances it very well may be, but in a generalization, that's not the reality.
Okay.
Tara's exactly right. And what I would say, to kind of piggyback on this, and Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, what you could say to those parents is, your child is going to have the opportunity to bond with some group on campus, right? Would you rather roll the dice, crapshoot, and maybe they find a circle of friends who are positive and are doing good things beyond, themselves into the community for life and all that other kind of stuff? Or would you want them to be part of something that it has decades, if not 100 years or more of commitment and service and all those other kind of things, and be part of something truly larger than themselves? To me, that becomes a very easy discussion to have.
Now, I see a comment from Greek Ladders. He talks about leadership and service and, other values that come with being a part. And I've heard both of you speak about those values and those leadership components and the camaraderie and the opportunities that can come out of this. Now, there are other organizations that you could participate in as well, right? Whether it's the band, whether it's chess club, whether it's drama club. Now, don't those things also promote leadership and camaraderie and instill values and all? So
you most certainly do.
So, and let's be clear, you should do those things also. The misnomer in this is that it's an either or discussion. Like, you can be Greek or you can be in the band or the chess club or in student government or any of those things. You should do all of those things. And none of it is exclusive. If leadership training is found, and just use leadership as an example, is found within fraternity or sorority, great. If it's found within your National Honor Society, awesome. Those are great things. You shouldn't put everything into one bucket anyway. You should have a variety of experiences. Your extracurricular involvement and co-curricular involvement in college should be robust. And Greek ladders, I'm sure Pete Parker would agree with this statement. One day, someone's going to be looking across from you at a table and they're going to say to you, "What did you do in college?" And the answer is, "Well, I read books and I took tests, and so did everyone else." But say, I ran an organization. I learned how to do finances. I learned how to do marketing and PR. I learned how to recruit. Then you have a profound story about what you did at college that's going to set you apart from everybody else.
Right. So we have about 10 minutes left, and my man Casey is over there. I mean, Casey is just like a chat room gangster right now. He just hitting y'all with all types of salt and shade. He throwing shade at y'all over in the chat room. But
we were good.
But I really want him to hit that button and come in and join the conversation. Come on, Casey, hit the button, man. Hit the button. Now, so why would sell me on joining your sorority, Tara. Sell me on joining your fraternity, Casey. So why should I join Gamma Rho?
So it's kind of funny that you said that. I just had a conversation yesterday with someone about creating your elevator speech, your elevator pitch. So, what I would typically say in my elevator pitch is why I joined. I joined not because I needed to feel like I fit in somewhere. I joined because I liked what they were about. And it's not going to be the same reason for everybody, or even in the same. It may have been different for me to choose an organization had I gone to a different school, because the school and what that particular chapter did is what really drew me to them. And so my thing would be, decide what you're looking for out of life. If you're looking for a network, if you're looking for a way to affect change in your community, that's why you should join my organization, because that's what we are out here trying to do. And we're trying to do it on all levels, undergrad level, at the graduate level, alumni level, and on our international level. So that's why you should join my organization, is because, and we like to not just walk the walk either. We talk it, we walk it, we live it. So that's us.
All right, now Casey, you're going to have to top that, because after I hear you, I'm going to join one of these organizations. After I'm going to either join Tara's sorority or your fraternity after I hear your pitch. Let's go. What you got?
Tara got the first crack. That's tough. No. I think she's exactly right. I think here's the thing as well. We shouldn't frame this in a transactional perspective where I should join because I'm going to get this. Yeah, you're going to get profound opportunities if you join a Greek organization, no matter the fraternity, the sorority. You're going to get amazing opportunities. But what you're going to get that cannot be quantified and cannot be explained to you at 18, 19, 20 years old is that you are going to be impacted by people who are going to be meaningful in your life forever. And I can tell you that many of the closest people in my life, both are members of my fraternity and are Greek members as a whole. And we share a bond that is as strong as any. And when I hear members of the military talk about it, when I hear members of philanthropic groups in the community talk about it, religious groups talk about it, they have the same spirit of camaraderie and bond. So, and I mean this, not to be flippant at all, but I would say to you, if you were that potential new member standing in front of me, whether you join our fraternity or any others, I hope that you find a place in this world and in this campus culture that you feel connected and that they align with your purpose and your values as well. And if it's us, great. If it's not, I hope you find a better fit, but I hope you find a fit.
Okay. Do you guys need my GPA? TJ said he needs my GPA.
Yeah, very strong. Strong GPA.
Yes.
Okay, well then maybe I'll have to find another fraternity or sorority to join. I may not qualify for either of your organizations. So as far as millennials go, right? Because one of the reasons that we're doing this is to help millennials understand how to make better decisions, more informed decisions. So what are some of the reasons? Because you guys want the right people because they're representing those letters at all times, as you mentioned earlier, Casey, at all times, right? And I think the reality is that there are some young people, there are some millennials that are in college right now that may be looking to join a fraternity or a sorority for the wrong reasons. And, and God forbid that whoever is in a position to recruit them and bring them on may even be recruiting them for the wrong reasons. Well,
let me answer this really, really clearly. And I know he's in the chat, so this is going to be a kudos. My good friend TJ Sullivan once wrote something that has been adopted by campuses across the country, and that is a paragraph. It's pretty long. I have it in poster size that says you're always wearing your letters. Whether you're wearing them outwardly or not, you're always wearing your letters. And there's a whole lot of responsibility that comes along with wearing those letters. Responsibility to those who've come before you, responsibility to those who are in your chapters now, and those who will come after you. And if at any point in time you don't think that you're able to live up to those expectations, to meet them, and if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, we'll still like you, we'll still love you, but you don't have to join. You don't have to become a member. It should only be for those who are truly committed to the values, the mission, and the purpose of those organizations. And you should not do it for the wrong reasons. I say to fraternity men specifically all the time when they're talking about how to be effective recruiters, and they'll talk about things like alcohol. And if you can't recruit a new member without alcohol, you're probably not really good at recruiting, right? So what I would say is, if it's necessary for you to throw a party and show off all that side of it, then you're not really a good and effective recruiter, and you probably don't deserve your choice of people.
I'd have to imagine, though, Casey, that's a pretty common recruiting tactic.
No doubt about it, but it's a really common lazy recruiting tactic as well. What I would say is that, if you dangle a beer in front of an 18 or 19-year-old student, you're going to get their attention. But here's my question in the flip side, what kind of message are you sending to them about the lifelong nature of your sisterhood or your brotherhood if it starts with a beer?
Mm-hmm. All right.
It's pretty weak.
Okay. So in our last 3 minutes, Tara, why don't you share to the millennial listeners out there, what are some reasons that they should want to join a fraternity or a sorority? And for those that are recruiting, what are some of the best practices that they should look for in the people that they're recruiting, or criteria or best recruiting practices, I should say?
Well, I think the reason that you should, look into and make the decision to join a Greek letter organization is strictly about, who you want to be as a person, and maybe not your 18 or 19-year-old self, who you want to be when you're 30 or 40, because these organizations will help to mold you. We all have mentors and people we can rely on outside of college and our social life, in our family or jobs we may have. But your sorority or fraternity members that you'll come across throughout your years, they will also always have your back and support you and push you in the right direction. So that's what you got to think of when you're deciding, do you want to, have someone who's 30 years old and still, partying on campus? Or do you want someone who's 30 years old and they come back to campus and they talk to you about, your next steps and things like that? Those are kind of things that you might want to look at when you're joining an organization. How do their members transition after?
Wow. Jennifer Jarrett just said, don't just make sure the t-shirt fits, make sure the values fit. Yeah. Wow. She just.
That's right, Jennifer.
I don't know, Jennifer, but that's the truth. Let's just end at that. That's the truth.
Jennifer, one of my chapter members.
Of course she is.
There you go. And she kept begging me, log on, call in. So
hey, look, guys, wait a minute, Casey is calling. It's 9:00, right? It's 8:59. And this is the guy that has been spewing all the hate from the chat room, throwing shade your way. The non-Greek who didn't believe a word either of you said.
Yeah.
So but see, I think he strategically waited till 8:59 to call in because he knew we were about to shut this thing down. But I'm going to give him, if you guys don't mind, I want to give him 88. I want to give him 88 seconds to speak his piece.
Actually, you know what? All I have to say, true man, honestly, at the end of the day, is I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. As a non-Greek and someone who, and I think for me, the biggest point that kind of hit home for me was that to be a part of fraternity doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a part of a Greek organization. It's because fraternity by design or by the definition of fraternity I mean, there was a lot of organizations on my campus, man, that you could have been a part of that could be considered a fraternity.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Tennessee State. Absolutely, go Big Blue. So, but I think again, this is a great conversation. I personally had some issues with becoming Greek that had nothing to do with much of anything. It was basically some of the associations that I had on campus with some individuals, because I didn't necessarily grow up believing that, people should be alienated. So I had friendships with people who were of the LGBT persuasion. And because of that, I got associated with that. And because of that, it was like, well, you must be one too. So we don't want you part of our organization.
And there goes that's kind of the divisive thing that I was talking about earlier, Casey. And and it comes across at times that fraternities and sororities are very elitist and very divisive and very exclusive. And I get it; it's exclusive, but exclusive from a standpoint of an air of I am better almost.
Right.
I'll say this, Casey, I'm sorry you had that experience. I got to tell you, I wouldn't want to be part of that organization either. And this is coming from a straight white male. I wouldn't want to be part of that organization either. Right. And my hunch is that in 2016, those organizations have evolved. And I'll say this, if they don't evolve in their perspectives, they're going to lose relevance as we go forward.
Yes.
Right. Agree 100%.
Hey guys, look, this is National Championship night. I know a lot of you want to get to the game, so I am not going to extend this any further than I have already taken it. I thank each and every one of you for your time. Like, really, I have personally learned so much tonight. Thank you guys for being willing to share your insight, your perspective, your wisdom, and hopefully not just the millennial listeners out there, really gain some insight in how to make choices and decisions and represent the Greek organizations that they may choose to and get themselves involved in and represent them well. But just some of the non-millennial members who have negative images and perceptions of Greek life, and some Greeks that are listening who don't represent those letters properly. And hopefully this will give them the opportunity to course correct and make some adjustments in their lives. You guys have been awesome. I can't thank you enough. This is Millennials Revealed every Monday, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. I look forward to seeing you guys here, same time, same channel next week. Casey, next time, call in earlier. And thank you to everyone in the chat room. Shout out to my man B More. Shout out to Intentional TJS. Shout out to Peter Parker, Greek Ladders, and everyone else, Jennifer Jarrett, everyone else that joined. And remember, don't just make sure the t-shirt fit. Make sure the values fit. We out. Thanks, guys.